everybody, this is Alyssa from Make Arts and Crafts, and today we are going to do a WIP and chat. And it feels like it's been forever since my last WIP and chat, since I missed last week's WIP and chat, since I was traveling and flying and out of town and did not have basically any internet or cell phone signal while I was out of town. So for today's WIP and chat, so WIP stands for work in progress, and chat, we're going to sit here and chat while we're doing our work in progress, or our WIP. And today I'm working on this adorable canvas. This is Tiny Harry. It's a Diamond Art Club. It's a 32.8 by 32.8. It's one of their Wizarding World canvases, so they don't have an artist specified for it. It just says Wizarding World for the artist. This is Tiny Harry. Isn't he cute? I decided for this one, I did Tiny Dobby like 2 days ago, and for Tiny Dobby, I did Dobby first and all of the accents, and then I did the background last. So for Harry, I'm doing the opposite. I'm doing the background first, and then I'll go in and fill in the rest. And I'm being lazy. I have my actual easel and desk all set up with there's a bunch of stuff on it. My office is an absolute pigsty. It's a complete and utter mess. And in order to be able to move my filming arm that my phone is attached to over to that desk so I can actually film with my normal setup and diamond paint with my normal setup, I have to actually move a bunch of stuff and clean my desk, which I'm being extremely lazy, and that just sounds like way too much effort for a Friday night. And I'm like, I can't even begin to want to. So I'm working on a table like a normal person, and I don't like it, but it is what it is. I'm feeling too lazy to actually get around to doing it any other way. So we're doing it this way. So you get to see me actually diamond paint like most people do without my easel. So we are working on Tiny Dobby, or Tiny Harry. We're working on Tiny Harry. I am using this beautiful tray from Bijou Bliss. Since I'm working with it flat, well, I'm still holding it, but I'm using this peach Pantone, the Pantone color of the year for year 2024 from Bijou Bliss. I love it. This is one of their mini trays. I like the mini size. It's the perfect size. So I'm using this tray. I am using, let me pull out my other goodies. Hi, Sue. Shut up, big cat. I am using Strawberries and Champagne Wee Wax. And I am using the Pisces Zodiac Series Merry Mud. I'm finally pulling out my Zodiac series of the Merry Muds. So these are the goodies that I'm using there. Sushi's coming to say hello. And then I am using this beautiful wood pen. Let me turn on the overhead so you can actually see this pen. This beautiful all wood pen and this one over here. These are the two pens I've been kind of alternating back and forth between. This one comes to us from Kevin's Creations. I can't remember the name of their new Etsy shop where they split off to sell their pens just on a dedicated Etsy for pens. And instead of having them on his regular Etsy, but it's Kevin's Creations. And then this beautiful one from Butterfly Effectwares. This is, I think, like the only, or one of the only large ones I have. I have a smaller version of this. This is like my Christmas pine tree one, and I love how the browns fade to greens and to clear with the pine trees and the Christmas trees. You're not going to go behind my easel. Not happening, girlfriend. I think this one, I probably will end up destashing this one. It feels it's a little thicker than I like, a little bit fatter and chunkier. So I will probably end up destashing that one because I have a smaller version of it that I prefer. That's one of the shorty pens that I really like. So this one will probably end up going in my destash pile. It's a beautiful, beautiful pen, and I absolutely love it, and it's gorgeous coloring wise, but it's just a little bit too big and a little bit too thick for me in my comfort level. So I've been using it on this to see what I think of it, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's going to go in the destash. So those are the goodies. That's what I'm working with. Apologize, I'm a little snuffy. I've been sneezing like crazy all day today. It's been outrageous. Oh, absolutely outrageous. We're going to move these over, turn the canvas sideways, and then get started on my diamond painting. So you won't get the bright background like you normally get from me of my, I need to lower my table down, or my chair down, table, lower my chair down. You won't get the background with the, like I normally have when I'm doing these with my, whatchamacallits, what are they? My light pad, because that's set up on the easel as well. But I feel like in a way you don't really necessarily need that too much with the this one, because it's so few colors and it's very easy to see. Now I just need to actually be able to place things accurately and not make a mess. And so how has everybody been? It feels like it has been a very long time since I've been able to talk to everybody in chat. I know I missed out on a number of videos this past week. I did not post nearly as many. I normally do the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, my WIP and chat. And I definitely did not post like I normally would. But that was because of, like, if you'd watched any of my previous WIP and chats, you would know that I was in Michigan for my grandpa's funeral. So, it wasn't like fresh death or anything like that. My grandpa had actually died back in January, but we had waited until my brother got back from his deployment before we did the funeral. So we had waited a couple months. Basically, we had waited from January all the way until May to do the funeral because we wanted my brother to be there because he was deployed and couldn't be there any sooner. He actually didn't even know because we don't have, when he's deployed, we don't have contact with him because he's on submarines, and we don't have contact with him on his sub for like the entirety of his deployment until usually about a week or two before he comes back from deployment. That's the first time that we can actually send him an email, is about a week or two before he comes back on his particular submarine. So, and you can't tell, couldn't tell him until he got back from deployment that my grandpa had died. So he didn't, so while the rest of us had like, you know, a few months to process this, my brother had like literally just found out. So it was still fresh for my brother. Like we did the funeral and he had known for a grand total of like 10 days that Papa had died. So it was really rough for my brother for sure. But and then of course, you know, the funeral just makes it real, especially flying back to Michigan and being back at the farm, my grandparents' farm, and staying there. My brother and I slept in the house in like the rooms that we always stay in. My parents usually are in their RV parked outside because there's a lot of us. And then my aunt and her wife stayed at my other uncle and his wife's, my other uncle and aunt's house. So my aunts were at my aunt and uncle's house. And it was because my aunt was like, she couldn't stay in the house. She was like, no, I can't stay there. So she stayed with my uncle. And my parents, they stayed in their RV outside of, like right outside the house. But my brother and I stayed inside because it was like, we just stayed in the house. So it was definitely different. That's, 2 years ago is when we lost my grandma. And when we went back up for my grandma's funeral, what are you doing? Oh, she's got her carrot. She's being cute. I need to move this one so it doesn't stick to there. She's got her carrot. She's being cute. She has a toy shaped like a carrot. So we were back up in Michigan 2 years ago, and that was actually the last time that all four of us had been together as a family, was actually for my grandma's funeral 2 years ago. So kind of sad that like that's what has to bring us together. Normally we see each other outside of that. It's just like these last couple of years with my job and my brother's job, that's kind of how it's turned out, because we've been busy enough between the two of us for work that we haven't had a chance to all of us visit like we normally would. So, that was the last time all four of us were together, was Grandma's funeral, and that was at the farm. And then here we are back at the farm again for Papa's funeral. But we did that, got to see family members that we hadn't seen in a little bit, as you typically do when you have any kind of funerals. So it's like both my brother and I flew in on a Thursday, and I'm just glad I made it in on Thursday, because that particular Thursday of like a week ago Thursday, there was apparently like really bad weather in the Dallas area, and my flight was from California to Dallas to Michigan. And I was sitting at the airport in California, waiting, and I got in, and I got to the airport and my flight had already been delayed when I got to the airport. And I had like a 54-minute layover in Dallas, Fort Worth, which I know that airport really well because I usually fly through it. So I was like, I know I can make my connection as long as there's no delays. I was like, I'll be fine as long as I don't have any delay on my first leg of the flight, which there's usually never a delay leaving California. But it was because the plane was coming from Dallas and was delayed leaving Dallas to come to California. So that delayed it then on my side to go from California back to Dallas because the plane had to arrive first before we could go anywhere. So that definitely affected everything. And it was supposed to leave, I think my flight was originally supposed to leave at like 11:50 or 12, I think it was 11:50. So basically 12 o'clock. And the flight kept getting pushed later and later. And I kept like watching and I'm like, okay, well, and I kept like checking everything and I'm like, all right, well, it looks like all of the flights coming into Dallas and leaving Dallas are slow and like being delayed. And I'm like, my second flight hasn't showed delayed yet, but the plane hasn't left. I think that flight, the plane was supposed to be coming in from Florida. I'm like, but that flight hasn't even left Florida yet. So if everything goes like this, then that flight should be delayed too. And as long as that flight is delayed, then I'll have a chance of making my connection. And I'm like plotting and planning and making all of these solutions in my head of like how I'm going to make sure I do this, because there's not many flights that fly into my our local airport it's not really local. It's like 45 minutes from where I grew up. But there's not a ton of them that fly into Southwest Michigan because it's not a huge airport. It's a small airport. So it's not like we get a ton of planes flying into that tiny little airport. And flying from Dallas Fort Worth, you have a best likelihood of getting good flights because it's a, pretty good size airport. But I'm like watching and keeping track of the flights and everything. So I'm tracking the flights and watching it get delayed further and further. And the flight finally comes in and I'm like, okay, well, looks like I'm going to miss my flight. And they were already making announcements that if you're going to miss your connection because of how delayed we were, if you're going to miss your connection, they were like, oh, we recommend going online and rebooking or waiting until you get to Dallas and just rebooking once you get to Dallas, going to the customer service counter. And I'm like, well, I'll just wait. I don't want to try changing my flight now because there's always a chance that I could still make it, even though I was watching my connection time like dwindle away. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to wait, deal with it when I get to Dallas, not worry about it right now. And then the plane arrives and the arriving people disembark the plane and we are like basically like 5 minutes from boarding. They were literally right about to start calling us to be able to board our flight, and then they came over and announced that Dallas was on a ground stop because of weather, so there was no flights in or out of Dallas. And I'm like, great. There goes me, actually getting to Dallas. So we had a ground stop for a couple hours, which I'm like, well, at least that means that there's an even greater likelihood that I'm going to make my connecting flight now. Meanwhile, like on the other side, my brother was leaving the same day, basically at the same time from Seattle, because he lives up in Washington. And I was supposed to get into Michigan at like 10:30, and then he was supposed to get in about 11:50 that evening, so Thursday night. And then my parents were I was going to hang out at the airport and wait for my brother's plane to get in, and then my parents were just going to come and wait until get there for picking us both up at like 11:50 rather than picking me up and then sitting around and waiting for my brother's flight. They were just going to aim to be there to pick up. We decided to have them aim to be there to pick us up at my brother's arrival time. Because I'm like, I'll just sit there and chill. I figured I could always sit and do diamond paint with some paint gems or something. In that like hour and a half that I waited for my brother's flight to get there. Well, ended up by the time like I got to Dallas, we finally left. It was like, like 3 hours later than we were supposed to leave. We finally left California. 3 hours late. Sorry, my nose is all snuffy. So we left California 3 hours later than we were supposed to. And then we were in the air on our way. And then we get to Dallas, and it's like, okay, I get there, and my flight had been delayed significantly because of the plane. They had to wait for a plane, and they had changed where the plane was coming from. Because of, like, this is all because of weather that was in Dallas. They were apparently having, like, tornadoes and hail and everything around the area. But there was a lot of tornadoes last week in the Midwest. There was tornadoes in my area of Southwest Michigan too, and those same days. It was bad weather all around last week for everybody. But got in, and we went from having a 54-minute layover to, it was like, okay, I'm going to have like an hour and a half layover. Easy day, that'll be fine. Get time to chill and relax. Get to my gate, no big deal. Get to the gate, and I watch as the arrival time, or like my departure time, gets changed later and later and later. And next thing you know, I've now had a, like, my layover went from being a, like, hour and a half, what was originally going to be a 54-minute layover. Ultimately, then when I had originally got to the airport, was going to be like a hour and a half layover. Ultimately ended up being like a 3 hour layover. Sushi, you're so funny. She's like, I'm playing with my carrot. She's entertaining herself playing with that toy. Ended up being like a 3 hour layover before it was finally all said and done. Ended up finally at least a 3 hour layover. I didn't leave Dallas until, I think my flight finally left at like 10 something that night, at least. And I was supposed to get in at 10:30. I think I finally got to Michigan at 2:20. That's when my flight arrived in Michigan, was 2:20 in the morning. You want to talk about like late? At that point, I was just glad that they actually still were doing the flight and hadn't decided to cancel the flight. I was glad that they were just still moving forward with it. That's what I was happy about, because the next latest flight, or the next flight afterwards, wouldn't have been until, like, leave Dallas until 11 a.m. Friday morning, which wouldn't have put me in until like 2:30. That would have put me in like 2:30 or so Friday afternoon, and the visitation was Friday at 5 p.m. And I was like, that'd be cutting it a little close, because it's like a 45-minute drive back down, and then you have to get everything ready, and they wanted us as the family to be at the funeral home by like 4 p.m. So that would have been like, I would have had to fly in literally immediately, change out of my airport clothes, like take a shower, all of that, and then immediately leave and drive to the funeral home with like no rest or anything in between. So I was just happy at that point that like the flight was going in, but I didn't get in to Michigan until almost 2:30. My parents had already picked my brother up at basically at midnight. They went to IHOP, I think, or Denny's or something like that, either a Denny's or an IHOP, and had dinner or something, because of course my brother was hungry even though he had already eaten. Oh, that's because he didn't have food on that second leg, because his connection was in Chicago O'Hare. So of course that's like a puddle jump that takes, like, you're in the air. They don't even do a beverage service because you're not even in the air long enough for a beverage service. So they had gone to Denny's, gotten dinner, or like a really late dinner, late food, and then just kind of sat and chilled. My mom napped, and then they picked me up for that couple of hours that they waited in the cell phone lot until they could pick me up at 2:30. Picked me up, we drove back, and then of course, by the time we actually went to bed, it was like almost 4 o'clock in the morning. By the time we got back to the farm, I got in the house, got settled into our rooms, and ready for bed and everything. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. And then thankfully we weren't doing anything. We weren't doing like breakfast, but we were doing a family breakfast with all of us. We're doing a family breakfast, which was the four of us, my aunt and uncle, so my dad's older brother, and his wife, and my dad's younger sister and her wife. So my aunt, uncle, and then my aunt and aunt. So we were all doing breakfast together Friday morning, and that was I think at like 10 o'clock. So we were at like 10:30. It was like a late breakfast. So thankfully it wasn't like super, super early. But that meant that, you know, we'd go to bed at 4 a.m. And then you had to be ready so we could leave at 10 for breakfast. So we didn't get a lot of sleep Thursday night into Friday. Any of us. None of us got a lot of sleep that night. But I made it, which was the important thing. I actually made it there. Yeah. But it was, and the crazy part, so I'm sitting there in Dallas at my gate, and while I'm sitting there in that like 2+ hour span of time, they changed the gate probably about, I think and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, I think we had about 8 or 9 gate changes in that span of time. Like there was like, at one point they changed the gate and I was like, okay, they changed us from like a C8 to C29, and I'm like, that's way too far away. I'm not getting up and moving. I'm just going to sit here until like the last little bit before boarding time, and then I'll go down there because I'm already comfortable. And sure enough, and I'm like, and just to my luck, as soon as I get up and move, they're going to call for another gate change. Well, 7 minutes later, they actually changed the gate again, and it went from being C29 to C12, and I'm like, well, that works because I'm sitting here at C8. So I waited a little bit longer, and I'm like, okay, it's been like half an hour, and they haven't changed the gate yet. I guess it's safe. I can move down to that gate. So I moved down to gate C12, was there for maybe 15 minutes, and they changed the gate back to C8, where I was originally, to where I was like 2 gates prior. And I'm like, seriously? This is a little ridiculous. But it was just like the gate changes that we had for that flight kind of were a little out of control. I'm like, just leave it as one gate and don't keep changing it and announcing the change. Just leave it as one gate. And when you get closer to gate time or to boarding time, then announce what gate it is rather than constantly doing these changes, because those of us that are like, you know, those really type A personalities like me, they hear a gate change for their gate. We're going to immediately go to said gate. So now you've got us running all over the airport trying to make sure we're in the right gate. Because that's me and my personality. I want to make sure I'm at the gate. Even if I'm sitting there 2 hours ahead of time, I'm going to be at my gate because that's me and my personality. But yeah, so flew into Michigan. It felt amazing having the humidity again. I loved the humidity. My hair loved the humidity. My hair was doing all sorts of like crazy flippy, corkscrewy, like wavy, curly things. It loved the humidity. I can't wait to leave the desert towards the end of the year and be back in the humidity because it's going to be amazing. But yeah, so that was Friday. Saturday was the funeral. And then that was in the morning, and then the luncheon afterwards, and then spent the rest of Saturday just kind of hanging out with my parents and my brother and just kind of chilling and relaxing and just, you know, hanging out as the 4 of us as a family, decompressing after like the stress of the weekend. And then Sunday we left super early because my brother and our flights were both at 7:30. So we left super early because we had to leave I think we left at 4:30 so we could be to the airport by 5:30. So that way we were there and good to go for our flight. But we and then we got Starbucks and sat next to each other at my brother's gate until like I think about 10 minutes before my plane was slated to board because my flight left first, and then I left and went to my gate. So that was kind of nice being able to sit and chill with him, but we coordinated our flights so that way we would leave at the same time. And then I get to Dallas, and my flight in Dallas was delayed leaving Dallas to go to California. But at that point, it doesn't matter because I'm like, I really don't care at that point because it's the last leg. So if it's delayed on my last leg, I'm usually fine with that. It's not a big deal. I'm like, I'll get back when I get back. I got time. So that one wasn't as big of a deal. So I ended up getting Was supposed to get back to the air, like, my flight was supposed to get in at, like, noon on Sunday, and I ended up flying in at 1 instead, because it was only delayed by, like, an hour, because weather was bad, and they were down to only flying out, like, one runway, because they had to route all flights into, like, one flight path, because of where the weather was, so they were routing all the planes through one flight path. In Dallas on Sunday when I was flying out. But did that and then had to drive back, and it takes like an hour, 45 minutes or so to drive from the airport to my house where I'm at out here in the desert. There's an airport closer, but the plane tickets are usually significantly more expensive for that airport compared to the airport that it's like I either drive an hour, 15 minutes to the closer airport or drive like an hour, 45 to 2 hours to the next airport where the ticket prices are significantly lower. And I'm like, it's not like I'm driving that much further. So I just drive to that airport. So then this week I was back at work. So I worked Monday. Well, I worked Monday, and then Tuesday, Monday was just a normal day, nothing major. And then Tuesday was my appointment down in San Diego, so I had to drive to San Diego. I feel like I did nothing but drive this week. So I had to drive down to San Diego, and my putty needs a break on this pen. It's a little worked. So we're gonna give that one a breather and come over here. So it was kind of one of those where I was like, okay, had to drive to San Diego on Tuesday for my Botox injections, which I get for my migraines, and I get those every 12 weeks I get injections. So that's a fun, lovely, like 3.5 hour drive down, get my injections, which usually takes me like half an hour. And then another lovely 3.5 hour drive back, which is super fun. All of that driving, amazingly fun. Gotta love it. But the weather was perfect, and I actually didn't even run into any traffic, which is a rare occurrence to not have traffic of any type. So I was pleased about that. So no traffic going down to San Diego. Had my Botox appointment. I was actually sitting in the waiting room at the neurology clinic, and I got a phone call from the collision center for my car because it was getting repaired, and they were like, hey, your car is ready to be picked up, because I had to drive in the rental car, and oh my goodness, you know, when you have your car and it is your car, it fits you perfectly, and my car fits me perfectly. I've been driving this car for 11 years now. It is like my car fits my body perfectly. It is comfortable for me to ride in for or drive for long periods of time, and it just works. And the rental car they gave me my brother would have been super comfortable in it, but my brother is also 6'3", 6'4". I'm 5'4". My brother would have no issues with it with his longer legs. He would have enjoyed driving it. For me, with my shorter legs, the depth of the seat, the part that you sit on, is too deep for my thighs. So I just could not get comfortable driving that car no matter how much I adjusted the seat, because my legs are too short for it. It just never felt comfortable. And so driving it for long distances, like driving to the airport and back, uncomfortable. Driving to San Diego and back, extremely uncomfortable. And my back would be achy and sore afterwards because of, the position I was sitting in was just not my proper position. It just wasn't comfortable for me at all. But, it's, you get what you get. That's what they gave me. The insurance is paying for it, so I'm not going to argue with that and try to switch to a different car when that's what they were giving me, and I'm not having to pay for it or anything like that. But still, it's just not my car, not the most comfortable thing. But they gave me that, and I get a call. Oh, excuse me. As I'm waiting for my neurologist, I get a call, and I'm like, ooh, yes, it's a area code that's local to where I'm stationed up here and where I live up here. So and it was the collision center, and they were like, yeah, your car is ready. You can come by and pick it up. And I'm like, oh, great. How late are you guys open? Because, I'm down in San Diego, so I need to be able to make sure I can make it back up there because, it's 11 o'clock, and I still have, a 3.5 hour drive to get back up there. And they were like, oh yeah, you can, we're open until 5:30. And I'm like, perfect, because I will definitely be back up there before 5:30. So, pardon the coughing. So after normally I get some really good Mexican while I'm down in San Diego, but this time I'm like, I want to make sure I get back up and get my car in time. So, cause I want my car back. So I decided to forego the Mexican, and went ahead and after my appointment, just like left and drove straight back up. Didn't even get lunch or anything. I just left and drove straight back up. I wasn't even really I was hungry, but I was avoiding eating because I had to do my height and weight on Thursday. So I was limiting my food intake to make sure I could pass height and weight, with the taping. I immediately left and drove straight back up here, and drove straight to the collision center, picked up my car, and the insurance companies had duped it out, and USAA had won. So that, and basically had, if you guys remember me mentioning how the other party's insurance company had decided that because of the location of the damage on my car, they didn't think that their driver was liable for the accident. Even though it was literally their driver failed to yield to oncoming traffic, me, and I had the right of way. So it was definitely their driver at fault. Basically I had been told that until that got settled, I would have to pay my deductible. And then once that part of everything got settled, and if their insurance company ended up being, get it like basically deemed at fault between the insurance companies. USAA had already deemed that I was not at fault. But until it was like the two insurance companies agreed, I would have to pay the default, or I would have to pay the deductible, initially. Well, I get there to go pick up my car, and I did not have to pay anything because the insurance companies had done their arbitration piece, and apparently it worked out in my favor where the other guy was deemed liable because I did not have to pay the deductible at all, which was a blessing. So no deductible for me to have to worry about. So that was like $500 that I did not have to spend this week, which was wonderful. So I was able to pick up my car. It felt so good being able to get in my car and drive my car home on Tuesday. I was like, this is wonderful. I love it. I missed driving my car. I am so glad to have my car back. And the last couple days has been wonderful because I'm like, yes, this is my car. Because it's starting to get really hot here in the desert. I do need to get my air conditioning refreshed. Refresh on my AC, because it's not blowing as cold as it should. But that's easy. That's not a big deal. Okay, that is one. But basically, yeah, but it was wonderful getting my car back. The rental car, I didn't even think about the fact that it's starting to get hot again. Because we've been into the 90s for the last however many days now. I think yesterday it was up to 95. It was that hot out here. It's getting warm, which is way too early in the year for it to be getting this warm. I'm not a fan. Do not approve. Do not recommend. Not a fan. This is not something that I enjoy. But anyways, with that being said, in the hot temperatures, we had to, with those hot temperatures, I didn't even think about grabbing my sun visor out of my car to take with me for the rental car, because one, I was told that I would only have the rental car for like 4 days before I would get my car back, and it turned into 3 weeks. So I wasn't expecting it to be that long, and I was like, oh, it's still pretty cool. I don't need to worry about this. I just need, I don't need to bring anything because it's just going to be like 4 days. That turned into 3 weeks. And by the end of it, it was like, it was hot enough that I'd go get in the rental car, and I'm like, I can't touch the steering wheel because it's so hot. I feel like my hands are burning. And I was like, I was like, if I have this thing much longer, I'm going to need to either buy a new sun visor, or I'm going to need to like bring an extra shirt out to my car or towel or something that I can toss over the steering wheel. So that way I can get in my car and uncover the steering wheel and not burn my little fingers. Because my little finger pads were a little toasty a couple times getting into that rental car. But it feels good having my car back. I'm super happy about that. So that was Tuesday. Wednesday was uneventful. And then Thursday I was running back and forth. We were doing like 101 days of summer. So basically like what we call a safety stand down, where you go over all the hazards and risks of summer. And rather than doing a death by PowerPoint this year, which is what we normally do, we had it more of like an interactive thing. So we had all the different topics as different booths. So people would present on their topic as a booth, and everybody had to go from booth to booth with a checkoff sheet to have things checked off that way, rather than having, death by PowerPoint, which was a little bit of a change than the way that we normally do it. I don't feel like it needed to be a 3-hour evolution, mostly because manning that table for 3 hours in 90-degree weather, even though we were in the shade under like canopies, still that temperature, you out there in that heat long enough, it adds up. You get toasty and you're like, okay, I am warm. Because we had a physical therapy, we had a table on basically working out and exercising in the heat. And like safely working out and exercising during like the heat time frame and during the summer. So that was our table was going over that stuff for them. So yeah, that was Thursday. I did get some Starbucks in on Thursday because I had to run back and forth to get everything prepped and everything, and I had some downtime. So I was like, I am going and getting myself an iced chai latte because that sounds amazing. So I had an iced chai latte, and it was heavenly. And then, let's see, what did I do today? Today was just normal clinic stuff. Oh, I was supposed to have a meeting with the physical therapist in charge of all Navy physical therapists, but that got pushed. Me and my boss were supposed to be meeting with her. She's not stationed here. We were supposed to have like a virtual meeting with her, but that meeting got pushed because of her last minute work schedule stuff came up, so we weren't able to meet with her. And then just, worked, saw patients, and then did stuff, and then came home, relaxed for a little bit because I needed a break from peopling at work. And now I am diamond painting. I joined in, I watched Tim and Carrie's live for a while because they're doing a 24-hour live stream in honor of having 500 members on their YouTube channel, which is pretty awesome. And I will be making a guest appearance on their YouTube live, their 24-hour live tomorrow afternoon. I don't know what time specifically. Once I have the times ironed out, I will let you all know. Well, today for you guys, it will be on Saturday. Once I know, I will post in like my community tab what time I will be going live on their YouTube channel, which will be fun. But Tim and Carrie are amazing. I love Tim and Carrie, and I love their pens. They have such awesome pens too. I love all pens, but like I love Tim and Carrie's pens. And one of my all-time favorite pens that you guys see me use all the time is this beauty right here. Like this is such a stunning pen, and this is one that Tim turned. And it's one of my absolute favorite pens. I love that turning. It's such a beautiful turning, and the blank, like the blank that they used was gorgeous, but I love the turning as well. They did an awesome job with that. So that's kind of like all of that brings us up to date to where we are now. I know that was a lot of like back and forth and all the things. I need to pull that putty out. That putty's annoying me. All right. In case you wonder how I remove the putty, I use the tweezers, stick them in, go like this, and then I clean up the sides if the sides are still a little sticky, because putty can get along those sides. And then I pull the putty off of the tweezers. And this is the only thing I really use those tweezers for. And then to load the putty, I do it just like this. Make sure, okay, push that down. I'll need to do another load. And make sure it's smooth along the edges. There. There. And that is how I load my putty, in case you were curious on how I load the putty. The wax is simple, you just scrape the wax in. But that's how I load my putty. Now we are going to continue on. We're getting close. We're close to done with our background, but we're also getting close. So diamond painting wise, I have been in a snacky mood. I've been working on small kits lately. I need to finish Super Dragon, but it's kind of one of those things where I know I want to, like I'm loving working on Super Dragon, but at the same time knowing that I need to finish it, it's like hard to get it pulled back out and work on it. It's like a mental block of like, I need to work on it. I'm enjoying it. Like I'm actually enjoying working on that one as a square, which is rare for me to enjoy doing a square canvas. But bringing myself to actually work on it has been tricky. And I think because it's so big, and that's why I've been trying to like catch myself and not purchase big paintings. The only big ones that I'm purchasing are the Yumeis, because I will do those. So the Yumeis will get done, but any other big paintings, especially big squares, are like, I'll be like, okay, that's beautiful, but I'm not going to do it, or I'm going to struggle to finish it because it's such a big square. So I was like, I need a break from a big square. I want some finishes. I just want something that I can sit down and do that's just sheer color blocking, finish in a quick moment. So I've done the Jaded Gem Shop's Crafter's Den Mystery Kit, which is so adorable. I can't wait to do my month in review to show off the cuteness of that canvas. OMG, is it adorable. I love it to pieces. And I am definitely going to be doing the Summer Mystery because that is so cute. And then I did Tiny Dobby. I wanted something color blocky. Oh, I did a DIY moon shop that I finished. I have 4 DIY moon shop kits, 2 Sybil Arts, and then 2 other ones that were not Sybil Art. So I pulled out the second Sybil Art, and that's what I actually took to Michigan with me. And I did work on it a little bit when I was in Michigan, here and there, in like the late evenings when we were just chilling as a family in the RV. I'd sit at the table in the RV and work on that and we would chat, because I could sit there at the table while and we would chat and talk and do everything. So I worked on that, and I got most of it finished while I was in Michigan, but not quite. So I had to finish it when I got back, and I don't know that I did any diamond painting on Sunday. I just took Sunday as a rest day, but I did finish it on Monday when I got back. I finished it on Monday, and then I finished on Tuesday. I think on Tuesday, did I even do anything on Tuesday? What day was? And then I took like another day as like Tuesday was, I think, was like the day was gone because of, no, I think Tuesday was when I did Tiny Dobby. So I sat down and did the Tiny Dobby on Tuesday, and that one was like a one sitting, finished it in like no time, worked up so quickly. I love these little ones. I only have Tiny Dobby and Tiny Harry. I need to purchase the rest because they are so fun to do, and I love the color blocking in them. Like, I love color blocking. Like, I can sit here and just work on, like, some people, this would actually drive them crazy, doing this much color blocking, like what I've just done. Like, I will have sat here and talked to you guys for almost an hour. Usually it ends up being about 45 to 50 minutes of actual diamond painting when I do a WIP and chat. But I'll have sat here and talked, and the entire time I've been working on one color. And I haven't been bored at all. I enjoy it. This, to me, is relaxing, working on large areas of one color. That is something that I enjoy doing. Whereas, like, when I have an area where there's tons of confetti, that, to me, is not something I enjoy. I do not like confetti. I abhor confetti. I am super excited that Jada Gem Shop is starting to do the pixel charted kits, because they are going to be much more areas, like a lot more areas of color blocking and less of like the confetti, because that means now there's going to be some more kits that are going to be offered with that she's going to slowly start offering with more or with less confetti, which makes me happy. So as long as they're kits that I like, I can get them with less confetti, and I'm excited for that because I love color blocking and I do not love confetti. I will do confetti and complain about it the entire time I'm doing it, but I will not enjoy it. And everybody's different. Everybody has their different things that they like. Some people like a blend of confetti and color blocking. Some people like lots of confetti just for the entirety of what they do. And other people, like me, love color blocking. Like, I will do this entire kit, which is nothing but color blocking, and I'll be perfectly content, and I do not get bored. Like, this is not something that bores me, sitting here and doing this with nothing but color blocking. I enjoy it. I've been doing much better lately. I've been reining in my spending on diamond paintings. I have not been doing well with my spending on diamond painting pens, mind you, but I have been doing good on my diamond paintings themselves. So I've been really, the only ones that I've purchased lately, I've purchased all of the Yumeis that have come out lately. I've purchased every single one of those. I did purchase I've not purchased all of the Margaret Moraleses that came out. The only Margaret Moraleses that I've purchased, like the new Margaret Morales that just came out, let me look at my ordered after. Let me see, what have I purchased in May? I want to see what canvases I've purchased in May. I've actually done well in May. I did make an order from Jada Gem Shop when Jade was doing a really good deal for canvases. So I ordered 4 canvases from her. Honor the Masses, which is an Anki Moore, which is gorgeous. That's the Mulan kit. In the Rain, which is a Totoro, super cute. Mermaid Soul, which is a cat fedora. But I did the crop version, which is basically just shows the koi fish, because that was beautiful, and that'll be my first cat fedora. Quest for Peace, which is Princess Mononoke, another Studio Ghibli piece. And then Inside Watery Eyes is the, oh gosh, what's it called? That is the Margaret Morales that I purchased. I didn't purchase the other ones that the Diamond Art Club came out with recently from her. So that they just weren't my style, but the Inside Watery Eyes is the one with her and the koi fish. So that was one that I did purchase because that was totally my style. And then I did make a purchase on Wednesday this week. I purchased the Memorial Day special of Soldiers. I don't like the title of it because to me it should have been titled something besides Soldiers, because I mean, you've got an aircraft carrier in there, and to me it is more of an aircraft carrier image rather than an image of soldiers. So you could have called it Sailors or something else instead of Soldiers, but I don't like the title of it. But that Diamond Art Club, the one with the jets flying overhead, the aircraft carrier in the background, and you have the service members in the foreground saluting. If you want to see a sneak peek of that, you can head over to Sophie, the Diamond Help Desk, head over to her channel, and you can see her sneak peek for it. And she also did an excellent job because she's also in the Navy just like I am. So she did an excellent job kind of showcasing the sentiment that I have about Memorial Day as well. So before I came into the military and became, Navy member, to me Memorial Day was just another holiday. It's like, yeah, we would march in the Memorial Day parade, do things like that, but it was just another holiday, and it didn't really have that same level of meaning. Whereas now Memorial Day for me is not, I don't view it as a holiday. To me, it is not all about, like, it's not the same. It's not like, oh, hey, I'm going to go out and have pizza or I'm not going to have burgers and hot dogs and all of that with friends and have an excuse to go out and, camp out and, have a good old beach day picnic like most people do on Memorial Day, because for me, I've lost too many friends and too many people that I've worked with over the years that are not there anymore and have lost their lives in service to our country and won't be there. And that's the day that's set aside to remember them. So now Memorial Day just hits totally different. And Sophie did a really, really good job of mentioning that and talking about it in her video. So that was, that's like the only patriotic, I'm not going to go into that because I'll start crying if I go into it, because I've got, yeah, I mean, I've been in for almost 12 years. So I've definitely had a lot of, like, there's definitely some people that I've lost over the years. People that I lost while I was in Afghanistan, I lost them in Afghanistan. And people that I've lost since then, everything else. So yeah, I'm not going to get started on that because that's something that I feel strongly about for Memorial Day. It's not typically like the same sentiment of like, hey, let's do a party kind of a thing. It's not the same kind of holiday sentiment that a lot of people have as like, oh yay, day off. To me, it's a much more somber holiday because of the people that I've lost, and I really truly have understand a lot more of the meaning of it than I did before I joined the military. I feel like this has been a much more somber WIP it chat. I'm going to change the topic for it, but I feel like I voted for that one when I saw that one come through the voting a while back, and that was one that I was hoping for because I felt like most of the canvases didn't really make me think Navy, and I wanted something that I felt like represented me being in the Navy, and I feel like that one does, because I mean it showcases an aircraft carrier in the background, and I spent a couple of years on an aircraft carrier. I was on a carrier from 16 to 18, and I feel like that actually represents much more so like being in the Navy than in my time in the service. And so that was a canvas that I wanted as kind of like, you know, to have one as my representation of my like patriotic canvas. That's my one patriotic canvas, is that one that released on Wednesday. But other than that, I've been doing good, and I do not plan on purchasing any today, at least not from Diamond Art Club. I do plan on making a purchase from Dreamers Designs. Actually, they have a Reagan Kubitschek. I've never actually purchased any by that artist, but they have a Reagan Kubitschek in rounds. That's a total like must have. It's the cutest little like Care Bear. Oh, totally takes me back to my childhood. And then looking at their recent releases, like last weekend releases, I didn't see because I had like no internet out at the farm. We had no internet and like basically no cell signal. There was like one spot on the hill that you could stand on outside of the house, out behind the house on the hill, where you could stand at this one spot and you could actually like get on Facebook, but you had to go stand there. So you had to stand outside behind the house on top of the hill in order to get signal, in order to do anything on Facebook. And that was just to be able to even like get Facebook to load. Same thing for Instagram. That was literally it for the entire time I was out at the farm in Michigan. Like there was no social mediaing while I was up there. Like that was the extent of social media because, you know, you're out in the boonies and that was the cell signal for data. I mean, you were lucky if you even got cell signal, period, and you weren't in SOS mode for while we were out there. So Dreamer Designs last weekend released a Buddha image, and I definitely have to buy that Buddha image. That is a must purchase. So I probably end up getting the Reagan Kubitschek and the Buddha that they released last weekend. And what's awesome is both of them are in rounds, because I feel like Diamond Art Club is not releasing canvases in rounds and anymore. I'm like, unless it's a Yume, I am getting really picky, and I'm like, no, I'll do a square if I absolutely have to because it's a Yume and I have to have Yumes. But other than that, I'm like, no, I want rounds. I prefer rounds. I don't care if I place perfectly. Obviously, you can see I'm a crappy placer and I could care less. But I'm doing this for fun. But I'm like, I need rounds. And I do not want 1,000,005 70 by 90 massive square diamond paintings. You guys have heard me go on this rant before. I'm like, if I wanted something that's super massive, yes, it looks better when it's huge and the squares give you more detail, but at the same time, I'm not doing diamond painting to have all of this impressive, crazy amount of detail. If I wanted all of that detail, I would just order a print from the artist. Like, I'm fine with the pixeled look. But again, this is me. You guys have heard my ranting before. I would just buy the print from the artist if I wanted it to look exactly like the original artwork. That's not why I'm doing the diamond painting. So I have a little bit of a different view on that than a lot of people. I like the pixely look. I enjoy the pixely look. So I'm like, it's something that I feel like it's the style. So I will take a round of something and have it look a little bit more pixelated and be fine with it, or take something that's a little bit smaller and not a 70 by 98 and be completely fine with that, because it's not, and have it be smaller but have it be a little bit more pixelated. I'm fine with that. That's okay with me. That's okay. Like, when I buy my image, like, that's one of the things that I love about shopping it from Jaded Gem Shop, because you get to pick what size canvas you want, and you get to pick whether you want it in round or squares. So my round loving heart can buy a small canvas in rounds for pretty much any image. There's some of them that she won't sell in the smallest size in rounds, and that's okay. But I can get the majority of my canvases in like a super small size, and I can buy them all in round drills, and I'm like, happy day. So that's something that I'm always super happy about, because I'm like, hey, this is a break from these massive squares that seem to be everywhere right now. Like, all of the releases from Diamond Art Club today, not a single one in rounds. I'm like, come on. Like the beach scene, you could have done that one in squares, or in rounds. Didn't need to be squares. Could have been rounds. But anywho, that's just me. Just fewer paint canvases to me, for me to worry about wanting when they're all big, massive squares like that. Because then I'm like, don't need it. Like, I love JoJo's, the Springbringer from JoJo's Art. Love that canvas. Would love, like, I really, really love that image. Love it. But it's a massive square canvas. If it was not a square, I would have bought that canvas like on original release. But because it's a massive square, I was like, I am not buying that. I had already purchased a bunch of other, like a ton of other massive squares with those releases around that same time frame, and I'm like, I can't do another massive square. I need a break from all of these massive squares. So anyways, that's where we're at. So I will be purchasing from Dreamers Designs this weekend as opposed to Diamond Art Club, mixing things up a little bit because I needed a break from those massive squares. And they have the canvases that I want and the art style that I want. I mean, a Buddha. I'm so happy to be able to purchase a Buddha image. Like, yay. Anyways, all right. I am like so close to being done, you guys. I have this little patch and that little patch. And then I will be done with this background. I'm so close. So close. Oh my word. I will finish it while I'm like, oh, so close as I make a mess. But anyways, that is pretty much what I have for you guys for today. I know I've been rambling like I always do. I had originally said yesterday that I would be doing a pen stash on a pen hoard video for you guys, but I think I may actually do I'm thinking of actually doing my cover minders instead and give you guys a cover minder video instead of doing the pens. You guys get to wait one more week for the pens because I need to organize my cover minders anyways. So I think I will do cover minders next week, and you guys will have to wait one more week for the pens, and then the week after that will be my diamond paintings. So whoop, coming up soon. I've already filmed most of the diamond paintings. I have a handful of them that have arrived since original filming, but I was in a must organize my hoard mood and filmed the diamond painting hoard, the majority of it. So that's already done. I just have to edit it and then do a little bit of filming of the stuff that has arrived since then, which is nice because that's one less thing to do, but I still have to do the pens. And I also am like that's gonna take a hot minute to do all the pens. Because then I have to go through and make sure I know what shop I got them from, all of that, whole 9 yards. Because I don't store them by shop, I store them in the order that I purchased them. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm going to store them by shop. I think I'm going to continue storing them in the order I purchased them, because I kind of like doing that and having them from like old to new. So I think I'm probably going to continue with that. But I feel like I need to start labeling like where I bought them from. I need to start that. As it is, if I unbox every single pen on my channel in a small shop haul, then if I don't remember where I got the pen, I can just go back to previous videos and watch like a video. And then I'll be like, okay, that's where I got it. And then I'm good. Some pens, I know exactly where I got them from. They're like very obvious because of the turning style or whatnot. I know for sure exactly where I got them. But there's a handful where I'm like, okay, I can't remember exactly where I got this pen from. There's a small handful like that I'll have to be like, okay, I need to go through my Etsy and do some things like that to verify a little bit of them. All right, I'm rambling because I really want to finish this tiny last little bit and call it donezo for the background. So much, like so close, just a little bit closer. Boom. All right, so we are done with our background. I mean, look at him. Tiny Harry's background is done. Took me like maybe like an hour and a half to do the background of Tiny Harry. Woohoo! All right, that is all I have for you guys for today. I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.